probably shouldn't show that, should I? Are we live? Oh, we are live. 20 seconds. One person here. Hey, person. Hey, one person with me. Gonna have one beer because I miss episodic content. Omar, it's just me and you. Wow, there's 12 people all of a sudden. Oh, look at that. Now there's a first who's not the first, who's the second. Hey, Deep Purple, JC, Rock and Roll God 16. How you guys doing? Is my audio working? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, it looks like we're good. How you guys doing? I just wanted to pop my head in here, have one beer with you, look at the chat, see how you guys are doing. I don't have anything to share because all of my attention's going into this freaking this documentary and stuff, and I really, honestly, I really miss doing episodic content because I get so much feedback. It's like a loop of feedback. It's like I have a community, I'm going back and forth, but I have to completely disengage with my virtual community in order to do something long form instead of doing all these like 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute episodes where I go and I look for things. I have to put it all together. I have to make a product. I have to make a work with a capital W. Somebody sent me this hat, and I don't know who sent me this hat. Anyways, so I just want to check in with you guys, and you guys can tell me what to talk about. I don't know the theme of this hat. I've had to cut back on my hat usage because I have to be professional and shit. I don't do poetry. I don't do anything I want to do anymore. I just do things that people wanted me to do because that's the way the market works. Here's my beer. It's a standard Fremont Intra Broughton. It's just the standard thing that I drink. I'm having a beer, and then you guys can talk to me. Heimdall, have a beer unless you have that psoriasis thing that's not psoriasis or scoliosis thing that's not scoliosis. The wheat thing. It sounds like a cross between psoriasis and scoliosis. I don't know. Somebody correct me. It is kind of a pimp hat. I should probably change my shirt so I can have a pimp shirt on. I have my bathrobe. Hold on just a sec. Let's pimp this out, guys. You too can be in your underwear or just sitting on a toilet because that's what we do when we're on the internet. Sit on toilets in our underwear. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully the underwear is out of the way of whatever's going on between you and the toilet. Hey, Edwin. Here we go. Let's pimp this stuff out. This is going to be completely freewheeling, no points to it live stream that will be deleted after the fact, unless I say something particularly poignant, even though that's not the correct word. In that case, I will, preserve the poignancy for all future times. Let's read this chat thing. Matt Ross, will you have another convo with Elliot Earls? I would love to have a conversation with Elliot Earls. He is an artist in, I want to say, Ohio or Michigan, outside of Detroit, I believe, if I recall correctly. I watch his stuff on Instagram. I watch his stuff on YouTube. And whenever I see his stuff, he revitalizes me on an artistic level. I think that he's an excellent teacher. He's the kind of artist that is for artists. And I don't mean that in a bad sense. My art is for artists. His art's for artists. His art makes me feel potent so I can go forth and do something that I don't necessarily feel potent about, right? He gives me access to ways of thinking, especially in the visual field, that refreshes my work in the visual field. And this is a very visual field. So if you want that, I'll do another one of that. The thing is, the cool thing about doing these interviews is that I'm doing interviews with people from all over the place, and they're not for everybody. Not everybody's going to get along or like everybody else, and I need to be cool with that. I feel like I need to be climbing this Dave Rubin ladder or whatever, just as a metaphor, climbing the Dave Rubin ladder and getting more and more important people but what does that mean? What does that more and more important people mean? That just means a broader importance, which just means that more people will give 2 cents to listen to this person, but very few people are going to give $5 of their attention to any given person, right? So I should just concentrate on people who I find interesting and let the chips fall as they may, right? Raymond, Gorman, you be strap pimp master. Pack in your niners. Did you guys read that? Maybe I should find this. Did you guys read that that New York Times article where somebody seriously wrote that complimenting a woman's buttocks is equivalent to soul murder? I'm sorry, I didn't pronounce that right. Complimenting a woman's buttocks is equivalent to soul murder, which makes Sir Mix-a-Lot the king daddy of Dementors, doesn't it? Just going around sucking the souls out of all the women for that thick with 2 C's booty. Let's do a new window, see if it pops up over here. You guys don't see my window. And then we're going to go into New York Times if I still have it. New York Times, soul murder, butt. We'll see if butt works. I don't think that's pulled up anything. I don't know. I don't want to bore you guys with me surfing the internet. All these overlays. Soul murder. New York Times soul murder. I don't need to read that thing. I just thought it was pretty interesting. And now I'm all blown out on the TV screen. I should just listen to you guys talk, like I said I was going to do. Heimdall's Gate. Benjamin A. Boyce. Benjamin Boyce. Do you think he will submit the Evergreen documentary to film festivals? Is insanely good thus far, sir. Hey, Prince. How you doing, man? Do you guys see Bijou? Can you see her? She climbs on the outside of the window, and she looks at me like she's disappointed that she's not inside. She literally climbs up the wall to look in at me and try to guilt trip me for being on the wrong side of the window. It's your fault, Bijou. If you want to be in here, you go around the human way. Should I submit what do you guys think? Should I submit this documentary to the film festivals? There's a whole set of legal problems with submitting the documentary to anything that's official. Like, I can get away with a lot on YouTube. I mean, I don't even want to summon copyright law on YouTube and get it banned, but there would be a lot of paperwork I think I would have to do. I'm going to make it as good as possible. It'd be nice to kind of use it as kind of like my actual degree, right? I went to Evergreen. I got the degree. I don't know where my degree is. And then I spent last year and a half talking about Evergreen. And I have to say that, anyways, we don't talk about Evergreen just now, but I want to use all that time that I spent on Evergreen as kind of like a quote unquote master's thesis, like have this documentary be like this work that people can evaluate my skills, whatever those skills are, like investigative journalism, filmmaking, interviewing. I don't know how good of a film it's going to be, or how good of, there's all these different pieces to it. So I want it to mean something for me. I want it to be like a brick in the building of my status onto other things. That's what I want it for. If I should submit it to actual documentary film festivals, I mean, that's a good idea. I just don't know. I really don't like gatekeeping. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And that's stunted my artistic life, because I've written so many books and I refuse to submit them to publishers because I refuse to be rejected on their terms, right? I need to get over that. I understand I'm rambling, but it's a good question. I feel like I need to actually talk to actual documentary film documentarians, and I'm in contact with a few. There's actually one guy who's working on a kind of a big story. I don't know if I should talk to him, but he contacted me because his story has to do somewhat with the stuff that I'm looking into. I'll give you one hint: grievance studies. I'm going to meet up with him in a couple weeks and have a chat with him and see how he thinks. Let's go back to this chat thing. Michael Piscarino. Is there any writer that can defeat Shakespeare for best writer of all time? Do you think Shakespeare is the best writer of all time? Was he a writer or he was a dramatist, right? I think of him more as a composer. But a composer of language, so I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I really like, I have to tell you guys the truth. I can't really get through Shakespeare unless I hear it. That's the only time I can get through Shakespeare is when I hear it. What I really, really enjoyed, and these are translated, is the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. What is this? What is this called? The Ramayana, like the ancient Hindu scriptures. They're not even really scriptures. Like, this is the writing I love. I love to death. This is some of like the peak writing for human inventiveness. This and the Mahabharata. Actually, there's a really, really good, I think it was a BBC production of the Mahabharata by, I can't remember the guy who did that. And it's such a beautiful film. And that film, I mean, it's like a mini series for public television, so it's all like basically in a set, and it's kind of a cheap set, but the acting's really good and the set design is really good. It's kind of like watching a play. But the thing is that when I first watched that, I watched that the first time in 2003. I saw that there was two levels, and this is the thing about studying mythology. I don't know necessarily about Jung, but studying the meaning of fairy tales, of mythology. Once you start studying and getting adept at understanding how the pattern of a story can translate into other patterns, where you can start seeing like these players on the stage interacting with these different actions and dramas, like reflect other things in life, reflect other parts of what it is to be human. It really opens up the playing field of being an audience, of engaging with a text, engaging with the story, to see how one thing reflects onto something else. And I think that that's one of the things that I most am grateful for Jordan Peterson with doing is kind of resurrecting the interpretation of story into meaning, resurrecting that in a large swath of people, and the whole thing, of course, the whole Jordan Peterson package, all the politics and all that other stuff, the personality stuff, all that other stuff, you can take it or leave it for me. I mean, I like him as an individual, but what he's doing in the public discourse that I really am grateful for is that he potentially is opening up people to looking at stories, to looking at mythology as something that reflects back onto the patterns that they see in their own lives. That was not an answer about Shakespeare being the best. Rock and Roll God 16, why do you not have more subscribers? Because I'm not playing the game correctly. I would think you've had more enormous exposure because of your recent topics. I'm not playing the YouTube game correctly. I don't think it's YouTube's fault. I think it's my fault. I don't edit my videos correctly for a wide audience. I know there's a way that I could be getting like 40,000 subscribers by far by now by doing certain content in a certain way and gaming the system. I don't play that game. I think this is what I think. I appeal to a certain smaller demographic that will eventually get larger, but I'm actually kind of happy with my audience right now because I trust my audience. And even though I piss them off and they piss me off from time to time, we come to blows in the comments, or I release a video that's positive about Evergreen that gets like a whole bunch of downvotes, like which isn't a lot of downvotes, like 100 or something like downvotes on the one where I returned to Evergreen and I was singing the praises of the potential of Evergreen. A lot of people were pissed off about that because a lot of people visit my content specifically, I think, specifically to scratch a certain itch. And I'm not saying everybody does, but I think a certain amount of people come and watch my stuff to scratch a certain itch. I think that I'm kind of like medium to high shelf anti-SJW in certain people's eyes. I don't necessarily want to found my whole internet persona on the anti-SJW stuff. But if I would develop like an anti-SJW platform or any sort of specific platform and run with that, I think I could magnetize a wider audience by just streamlining my content for a certain audience. But I don't do that. I do it stochastically, slipshod. Let's go down to another question. Dreamcatcher. Are there any evergreen anti-you? Are there any evergreen anti-you? Evil Mr. Spock versions of you out there blogging. What are they saying? Are there any evergreen anti-me? Okay. Are there? Yeah, that's one thing. I think I understand. Thanks, Prince of Queens. I have to answer this question. This is an interesting question. This is one of the questions. Like, why is there nobody from Evergreen that's doing the opposite of what I'm doing? That is producing video after video after video that is defending the protesters, that is enlightening us as to the inner workings of the protesters' mentality and defending them and reaching out. One, I think. That's a great speculation. There's some things that I can say that could be kind of construed as me being egotistical or prideful or whatever. But I do think that nobody on that side of things actually has the skills to do what I'm doing. Secondly, I don't think the material warrants what I'm doing. I think that what I'm doing, the reason that I can keep on doing this, talking about this one institution, this one very small institution for a year and a half now, and still maintain people's interest, part of it has to do with me developing the skills to do that. Another part of it is that it's inherently fascinating, and I'm working on the side of something that I don't want to call truth in an absolute sense, but I'm working with a certain lens that is stable enough that it can keep on generating a coherent story. I can create a coherent story. And that coherent story, in part, is debunking a lot of the protest stuff. And on the second level, it's coherent because I consistently have a frame of reference that, people can say that I'm prejudiced or whatever against a certain point of view. But the whole equity and diversity stuff that I critique the administration for, my point of view is rather consistent because my ideals allow me to be more consistent. And I wonder if nobody's doing it on the other side of things because their ideology, the equity, inclusivity, diversity ideology itself is not consistent enough to warrant a continued iteration of it. Though, you can definitely look around on YouTube and on Twitter and on Facebook and see lots of people producing lots of content consistently within that framework. But working off the evergreen data set throws so many wrenches into the equity inclusivity mindset that nobody can do what I'm doing on the other side of the aisle, so-called, with Evergreen. The people who are hyper-progressive or who are social justice-ish, they need to ignore Evergreen because Evergreen actually presents too many problems for their continued sustained interpretation or their ideology to produce more and more content. And they need to look at other things. That was a long answer. Let's look. Prince of Queens, like 20 minutes ago, you asked, what are my thoughts about the election results? I don't care. I don't give a shit about national politics. I don't care. I mean, I care, but it's too complex. My brain can't function at that level. Thirdly, I don't know if we're on secondly or thirdly, it's so abstract to my daily living. Fourthly, it's coded in layers upon layers of rhetorical tricks and games that I don't even know if it's worth my attention to really suss out. Which is pretty bad. You guys can hate on me for not caring about that, but I really don't have. I think what I heard, the Democrats have more in the House. I'm glad that people will be not bitching as much, but it seems they'll just find something else to bitch about. I was really hoping that people would come to a consensus on the national electoral sphere that would be slightly less disappointing than where they were before the election. That's all I want. I want people to talk about something more interesting to me, not national politics. Anyways, Ein Randomer. That makes sense to you. The other side seems to work best in the dark, so to speak, without looking at too big a picture. Maybe. I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on out there, man. And I look at the stuff that's going on. I look at the racist rhetoric from the progressive left, or whatever we want to call it. It just really disturbs me how normalized it is to denigrate somebody's opinion based on the color of their skin. As long as that color of the skin is lighter than the one that you're defending. It really disturbs me. And I hope that my work on Evergreen does something to wake people up to the dangers of going along that path, but a lot of people are going along that path. It really disturbs me. I try to make fun of it and be clever with it on Twitter, but it really rather disturbs me. One beer. Red and only. I guess if the glass is never empty. LOL. Rib, rot gut. You asked about me catching Robin DiAngelo on her book promotion tour. She had videos on Big Think and NBC recently, pushing her white guilt dog shite. I have a friend who may or may not be a psychologist who's been religiously watching her videos, and he's going through and pointing me to timestamps of the videos that she's producing, and I'm hoping at some point to compile excerpts from her various talks and really get into the psychology behind what she's promulgating. I already did one interview with a guy in DC, and we talked about the rational inconsistent, or the rational fragility of white fragility. I really apologize for that audio, but I think that's a really good conversation to start out with, us looking at like the substanceless of the claims of white fragility, but there's something that has substance in white fragility, and that substance comes, I believe, from Robin DiAngelo's unhealthy psychological state. I think she's working out things from her childhood. I think there's very plain, simple psychological, even, I don't know about Freudian, but there's certain just patterns of psychological reality that she's working out with this theory that line up with other people who adhere to this theory. The white people that line up with this, they feel a twisted sense of owning their own guilt and shame, and being able to deal with like this weird atmospheric guilt they feel in their life, and they get dependent on this concept that has more stability in their imaginations than any other thing, so they cling to it. But it's also weaponized. If you go through and you kind of look through the comments on the Robin DiAngelo video I did in the Evergreen series called White Fragility, and Evergreen Faculty Training. It's from a while ago. It's not my best video. It's pretty early on, but it's pretty good from that era. Anyways, you'll see people discounting my criticism of Robin DiAngelo by saying that I'm a test case, or a case study in white fragility. They use white fragility, or the claim of white fragility, to discount any criticisms of white fragility, which doesn't make any sense. Plus, it doesn't make any sense because I specifically concentrated on her rhetorical tricks, right? I didn't really concentrate on the theory itself so much as the way that she was positioning the theory and using different rhetorical tricks to indoctrinate people into the theory. Anyways, so you can see that certain people find power in it because it allows them to have an object to pin their guilt upon. Their diffuse guilt gets to collapse on an object called white fragility. And then other people, perhaps who are not white, I don't know, use it as a weapon to go around and have more power, and to turn the internet into what happened on the 4th floor of the Evergreen Library building on May 23rd, 2017. Let's go back to the chat. John O., thanks for the super chat. Ben, love the show. Is anti-white racism the biggest problem on the left? No. No, I don't think anti-white racism is the biggest problem on the left, though it is a pretty big problem. I think the biggest problem is why anti-white racism is so popular on the left. I think that anti-white racism is a symptom of a deeper problem. I don't know what that problem is. I think it has to do with an inefficiency of intellect. I think people are gummed up, they're disappointed, they're feeling more than they're thinking, which is not necessarily only something that the left does. I think that's something that humans do. We feel more than we think. And I think the white racism or the anti-white racism that's evincing itself, bubbling up on Twitter and other places from the left, it's a problem. It's a strategical problem because eventually that's going to lose them. A lot of their base is going to alienate people. It's an intellectual problem because it disallows them to actually sift through nuance and see anything other than demographics of race. So they're not going to be able to target the narrative that will carry them. The left, so-called, or the Democrats won't be able to target the narrative or create the narrative, sustain the narrative, build the narrative that will carry them into a stronger foothold in the on the political level of government. Now, I'm thinking federally, maybe state level, it's different. Maybe there's smaller narratives. Maybe the Democrats work on smaller scale narratives better than they do on a national scale. Maybe there's some sort of threshold where the progressive agenda no longer can't sustain a majority. I don't know. But again, we're talking beyond my depth. I don't know all this stuff about gerrymandering and all the different ins and outs of national politics and stuff. But I do think ideologically that racism, once espoused by a party, will be that party's undoing because they're going to end up alienating much more people than they will be bringing in. Again, to go back to Greg and John, Lukianoff and Haidt, common humanity identity politics rather than common enemy identity politics will win out. Common humanity politics will be stronger. It takes longer. It takes people with a little bit more charisma and intelligence and patience and decent kind of waveforms to pull off. It doesn't suit common humanity politics. Doesn't suit an era where we have somebody like Trump who's always goading people, unless actually could totally trump Trump. Common humanity politics could totally trump Trump by just being a bigger adult than him, but somehow he inspires people to act childishly. I am way behind on this. Prince of Queens, you said, the problem with the left is misplaced blame. The economy is bad, but they think it's good because Obama lied and said he made it better. So they are mad at people, at fellow people, because they aren't seeing it. That's a good thought, Prince of Queens, but it's beyond my capacity to suss out. I'm really not good at politics. That's why my channel is suffering right now, because I just disdain national politics. I want to go back into op-ed pieces and things that I can deal with. Cy Berserk, thanks for the super chat, man. Super chap. What? Chap snatch? The left hates also Japan. They are anti-nationalist. I wonder. That's interesting. Once we get into politics, I need to have like somebody else on the other side talking with me. I read on the Twitter that open borders don't work, and I heard this from somebody else that I interviewed. Open borders don't work when we have a welfare state. That's a good idea. I think that's good. I don't have a brain for this stuff. Can we talk about something more imaginary or emotional? I've been really emotional. I miss having community. I spent so long getting used to being completely isolated with these freaking books that I wrote. Then I got like really used into being this YouTube thing, like boom, 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 content, feedback. And now I'm back into like weird isolation land with this documentary. Anyways, I'm repeating myself. Anybody tuning in the last 20 minutes, this is just a rambly, one-off thing where I talk. And then we're going to put it on unlisted so y'all can come back here. Whoever has the link can come back here. Look how much of a fool I am. But this is totally informal. I'm wearing a bathrobe. I'm drinking a beer. I have a funny hat on. We don't need to take each other seriously right now. But then everybody wants me to keep it respectful. Thanks, Kit. That's a good idea. Thanks, Ken. I can't help you with your Google password, but the thought counts a lot. Patrick Radcliffe, good evening. Mr. Hatter, was my Emir tip helpful Or did he blow you off? Amir who? I'm juggling so much information right now in my head. I have people like sending me links of stories to do. I can't do it. I'm going through all this evergreen footage. I've gone back. I'm re-rendering all of the evergreen footage. I don't even know if it's going to make a difference. But anyway, so I'm going back to the sources that I've found. I'm downloading them. And because the way that I'm downloading them, for whatever reason, will not load into my video maker, I have to watch them full screen and record them. So screen record them and then re-rendering them. So I'm going through all the protest footage for like the 40th time now. Just like getting it all in my head. It's amazing stuff. But anyways, it's taking up a lot of my RAM right now. So I don't know who Amir's last name is, but I do remember that I contacted some guy named Amir. Maximus Groves, you're a comedian. Appreciate your comedy. You said, whenever I get exhausted by politics, I turn on pro wrestling. It's really therapeutic. I've been playing Bayonetta. That's been my therapy lately. Bayonetta. I don't know what else to say about that. She's got nice hips. Oh, I just soul killed a player character. A fully player character. What's the opposite of an NPC? Player character? A PC? I don't get it. Sasquatch is just a redneck with too much back hair. I don't know if I'm feeding in to what you guys are saying. Amir Hassan. I have to look that up. Okay. Can we talk about something fun? I'm not drinking my beer. Hey, Dilbert Gag. Just hello. I just listened to a doctor. He explained transsexual was strategically replaced with gender dysphoria. Fascinating talk on corruption. I want to do more. I want to do more work with kinesis. I'm in contact, and I think I might have sacrificed my connection with this person, but I had a tentative contact with a female to male and then back to female transgender person who I think has a wonderful voice, and I wanted to give her more outreach. I do think that there is a specific way that we can go about transgender, transsexual issues that will decrease the tension that people feel about that while still actually looking at where the tensions are with that group of people. With women, women should be a protected class, and we need to think carefully through issues. Just need to carefully think through issues and allow people to be awesome, even if they don't suit everybody else's expectations. So there's a way to go with that, but it's also true that there's some trickery afoot with some of the transgender activism stuff that I disagree with. But that's a whole other thing. I would rather couch my opinions on that through people who actually have to live through their lives that way. Because it's a very difficult thing to go through. And it's unfortunate that politicization of things don't necessarily ameliorate the difficulty of a living thing. Greg Wolf, let's talk about slime molds, baby. They're fun and not mold. They're eukaryotes. Eukaryotes. Are you speaking Portuguese again, Mr. Wolf? Rib Rot Gut. Kit's telling me that something's wrong here. Anything else you guys want me to talk about? Knit Pearl. It's good to see you. What if the mother wants to be addressed as mother? What about her rights? Oh, wait. Maybe it's their rights. Them rights. Them rights. I don't get it. We went into land of more issues that I just want to chill out. Let's talk about Bayonetta. Prince of Queens. I know a male to female who went back to male. That's not the Bayonetta. Ein Randomer. Thoughts on the fact that Bayonetta is 10 heads tail and tall instead of the more usual 8. I don't know. It's just a really busy game. It's just something to immerse my head in. And I keep on dying, so I keep on getting stone things. Stone rewards at the end of the levels. I don't know what a eukaryotes is. Ludicrous leprechaun. They're pronounced eukaryotes. No, eukaryotes. What do you guys think about the new House of Cards? Did you watch it? I gave up on House of Cards. The last 2 seasons were crap. And then Kevin Spacey's gone because he can't keep his hands or his other parts out of other people's parts. So it's just that they killed him off. But without him, there's really no reason for me to watch that show. Actually, after the 3rd or 4th season, it's just like, okay, you guys are milking it. You're not wrapping it up. The first 2 seasons were pretty good, though. Bill Burr, Philly rant. I don't want to touch murder of people either. Philly rant. Bill Burr. Loyal opposition. How you doing, man? You got back into Minecraft. Never did the Minecraft. Don't stop bereaving. The lead singer of Journey just retired from touring to start a chain of funeral homes. Thanks, Brian. Their slogan, don't stop bereaving through the night. I wish I was a better singer so I could sing you guys the song that I wrote. I finished the song. If you want a piece of me, I'll give you some right now. Let's go outside and then we'll both throw down. And you know I'll win, then I'm gonna be the boss of you. 'Cause listen up, buttercup, I already thought the whole thing through. Here I am and I'm game to drop the other shoe. If I get bruised, that's cool, 'cause in the end, you know I'll be the boss of you. Anyway, so I finished the song. I worked forever. The first verse of that was totally free. It just kind of came to me. Just like, bing! And then I had to work and really work on the second verse and then come up with the bridge. I came up with the bridge and I had to work. And I just like worked all week. I was just like, because I drive for my day job. I'm driving and I'm like singing the song over and over and over again, like trying out different paths, like, how lightning goes? It's like just trying to reach the ground. And so it goes all these different ways until it touches the ground. Anyway, so I got through the first verse and I couldn't finish it up. It just didn't feel good because like the song is about like, I'm just going to like own you. I'm just going to PWN you, PNW you, whatever. I'm going to pwn you, right? And this is not something that I necessarily believe in. I mean, it was the feeling. It's good feeling. It's a nice feeling to have that. It's like, I'm going to be the boss of you, because I'm ready. I'm ready for this confrontation. I'm ready. But then like today I was driving and then all of a sudden like my brain did like this thing. It's like, bing, wordplay. And then the second verse says, but if you want to make peace with me, I'll give you some right now. Let's go inside and we'll go both sit down and we'll talk things out and I won't have to be the boss of you. Right? And it's like, okay, there we go. It's like, okay, there's confrontation mode, but then like there's always a peace mode. So, and then the song just like finished up. I just love writing songs. I love writing kids songs. I love it. I love it. I love it. Even if they start out like, well, you can't really sing that to a kid. They end up being about like something that a kid needs to learn. Like, you're going to have this emotion of wanting to win somebody over. Well, win over somebody, but the correct emotion is to win somebody over. You don't win over somebody, you win them over. Does that make any sense? Right? Like the thing is, you need to do judo not only with the aggression that's coming towards you, but the aggression that's coming from you. You pivot your own aggression into peace, because from peace comes productivity. That's my whole moral matrix. It's like, how do we get back to work? How do we get back to creation? We can't be creating if we're fighting, right? I don't know. I'm going to go off on things and try to justify my stance of being pro-evergreen. But I keep on forgetting to drink beer and listening to you guys. You're smoking a fat joint. Go for it, Johnny, asshole. I cannot smoke marijuana. 1, for my job. 2, because like it just makes me feel so guilty. It's not a fun feeling for me. Can't talk about drugs right now because of my job, but I have opinions on them. See you, Ludicrous Leprechaun. Thanks for swinging by, man. The loyal opposition. Productivity is my highest virtue. The loyal opposition. I should have been showcasing your little typing mechanism. I don't know if I can find the. I can't find. I don't know where that picture is. I don't know if you want me to show it. But that was cool. What you're working on is pretty cool. I think it's over here. I'm going to find loyal opposition. You can tell me yes or no if I should show this. Let's see if I can find it. Twitter is kind of annoying when you try to go through and find an old text from somebody. Man, I've been really busy on this Twitter thing. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Let's drag it to the desktop. Is it working? Okay, it's not ready. I can't show you. It's really beautiful. He's working on this beautiful thing, the loyal opposition is. Anyway, so we won't show it. Anyways, I'm going to finish up this beer and let you guys go because it's been 40 minutes of me rambling. Thank you for letting me ramble. Like, I was feeling so stuck and like, oh. And then, like, I have, like, this episode to do. I got this great cachet of FOIA documents, like Freedom of Information Act documents, from the head of College Advancement, which is the Alumni Association, and the head of the marketing department, right? So I got emails from the month after protest between these two people. One who's really concerned about making sure that the alumni are happy, and one that's really concerned making sure that, you know, the public is happy. And I'm pretty sure that on a professional level, not a personal level, but on a professional level, I'm their biggest enemy. I'm pretty certain that they spend a lot of time, like, going over what I'm saying and figuring out ways to like, well, how do we battle what he just showed, you know? And I wanted to do an episode, like, not calling them out, but like saying how much I respect them. Amanda Walker, Sandra Kaiser, like, I know I'm your greatest enemy, but like, I really respect you. I got their documents. I've seen what they've done with George Bridges' words. It's pretty fascinating what they take out from what George Bridges thinks. Like, George Bridges is an edited product. He's a fairly edited product. The stuff that we get to see, at least writing, goes through them before it goes to the public. And it's pretty telling what he thinks versus what he's allowed to say or what they end up saying. They even end up changing the words of, like, the VP of Equity and Inclusion and stuff. So I wonder, in a way, if I can, like, start to, like, be more smarter with, like, my Evergreen series in such a way as that I can start to influence the organization, not just to change their language or counter me on a public relations media level, but to actually challenge the substance of what is going on at Evergreen. Because there is a possibility at Evergreen for Evergreen to actually serve self-motivated older students and just self-motivated students of a higher academic standard, right? It used to be the case that only people who could go to Evergreen were rich kids who could afford to gamble on this way of learning. And older folks who were kind of like, well, what do I do with my life? I'll finish up my degree, right? Then it turned into, we're going to take everybody who will not survive anywhere else. We're going to take people who barely finished high school. We're going to take people who can't get through any other college, and we're going to make sure that they get a college degree. Well, that's a noble cause, right? But the whole Evergreen model suffers because of that. Evergreen is set up, one, you have very long classes. You have one class, one course, one program they call. It lasts a whole quarter, sometimes 2 quarters, sometimes even a whole year, right? A lot of it is lectures and then seminars. So if you're in a seminar group, which means you're sitting around a table with some people who are smart, some people who can barely write a coherent essay, right? How is the dynamic of learning going to be achieved in that dynamic? It actually suffers. So the whole thing, and I'm very certain, I'm very sure, and I don't have any substance to this. I only have, like, me connecting dots. But George Bridges, he wants to destroy the independent-centered learning model of Evergreen. He wants to destroy that. He wants to turn this into a degree mill for very low achievement people of wherever they're from, and then to also make it a degree mill for their Masters of Public Administration, Masters of Teaching. So he wants to shoot a whole bunch of SJW stuff into the public school system and into the public administration system. That's one level. Two, he wants to turn it into a degree mill for people and completely liquidate the very difficult, rigorous aspects of an Evergreen education, which is independent learning, which is exactly what I'm doing. So I think that I'm the model evergreen student. I'm not the model evergreen student, but what I'm doing is a model of the evergreen education. What George Bridges is doing is ruining the entire thing for whatever reason. I don't really understand that, but there's hints. I've gone through several times. I've gone through all of the recorded footage of him. He drops these hints of what he's going to do. I really think they're trying to rezone Evergreen. Actually, this is something for Washington residents. They're trying to rezone Evergreen for a nefarious reason. I saw something where he says, like, what are we doing with all this land? What could we be doing with all this land? They're starting to rezone it. For what? Really, for what? They have like 100 acres of old growth forest. What is he really intending to do? I really don't trust this guy. I think he's much smarter than he's let on. I think he's much more edited than he lets on, but I think he's nefarious. I think he has layers and layers of virtuous end goals that don't actually line up with anything that anybody other than him wants. And I think he's very deft at using the whole apparatus to get what he wants. Anyways, that's a really long episode, and someday I'm going to end up in the back of his like tomato red Beetle. He's got a beautiful old school Volkswagen Beetle or Bug or something like that. It's a very beautiful machine. Anyways, you guys have been talking. I've been talking. Good night, Dreamcatcher. I should wrap this up. Thanks for the downvote, whoever downvoted me. Yep, Red, the campus is so beautiful. He's doing something. I need to get the documents, but they actually had a neighborhood meeting for the people who live around Evergreen to discuss the rezoning of Evergreen. And if you go in and you actually look at that new student code of conduct, what they're basically doing is making it a sovereign state out there, like where they can prosecute, and they have legal authority to prosecute you above and beyond. Thanks for the second downvote and the 37 ups. The 37 ups mean so much more than those 2 downs, but I appreciate the downs too, because at least I'm getting feedback. Anyways, what was I saying? What was I saying? Rezoning things. I had a thing. These are all nascent thoughts. These are baby thoughts about trying to design a case. Anyway, so they're rezoning it. Yeah, the student code of conduct, it repeats Washington law. Like, they can prosecute you and they can judge, jury, and execution you in-house with somebody who doesn't necessarily have any legal standing or any legal, what's it called? Legal aptitude. Just somebody who's a diversity and equity officer or somebody who's a student conduct code officer, right? Can go through and like actually enter you into double jeopardy where the state could prosecute you for a crime and then Evergreen can prosecute you. And like, the question is like, what can Evergreen actually do? They can revoke your degree and kick you off campus. They can't really actually do anything other than give you a bad report card and kick you out of college, right? But still, it's disconcerting to me that this guy, this George Bridges guy is basically, he's making his own sovereign state, right? With it has its own laws. He has its own zoning, right? Like, he wants to basically invent, from what I hear, I don't have the documents, he wants to invent a new sort of zoning for it. And it's got like this completely different radical way of even viewing the world, right? So the whole thing is a very fascinating thing. To get back to what I was talking about at the beginning, why is there no somebody on the other side of things? I'm sure there's somebody who could just make a living off of making fun of me. Actually, I don't think I'm interesting enough to do that, but they could be doing the opposite. No, I don't think they can be doing the opposite of me, because so many facets of the Evergreen story are so beyond the pale. I'm not going to say they're fucked up necessarily, but they're so wackadoo and like almost indefensible. You're like, what are you doing? You're doubling down for the 50th time. Anyways, so that would be almost impossible. I think Amanda Walker and Sandra Kaiser, who the people at the head of the alumni, getting money from the alumni, people at the head of making sure that the community doesn't hate Evergreen, those people have it hard enough just treading water with me out there. I don't think there's anybody who could actually help them other than me. I mean, and I'm open to helping them. I do have a price, and that price is honesty. That price is actual academic rigor. God, we need quality in this world. We need quality. more than we need, I'm sorry to say this, okay, not equality, but equity. We need quality over equity. We need quality. That's where value comes from. Value doesn't come from like, oh, look, I got a degree and just as many people who look like me got a degree as just as many people who didn't look like me. That's equity thing. That's not what we need. We need people who are producing excellent thoughts, even if those thoughts I disagree with, even people on the left. The left really needs great thinkers, right? There's one more thing I want to say, and then I'm going to let you guys go. And then I'll go back and look through all the chat. I'm sorry I didn't pay attention to your chat. Thank you guys so much. I will be making more t-shirts, Lori Gustin. I need to get on top of that. One more thing. Washington, there's some groups in Washington that want to reboot the affirmative action bill. And I'm going to work with some friends to really dig into this bill. They're getting a lot of signatures. The end date for this is in January. They need 250,000 signatures. This is off the top of my head. Either 25,000 or 250,000 signatures to get it on the ballot. Then it will be voted on November 5th, 2019. And there's something about this. It's no longer affirmative action. It's equity, diversity, and inclusion. Right? Basically, I don't have a lawyer brain, but basically what they want to do is set up a task force with money from the government to go around police other government agencies for not giving preferential treatment to certain people of certain classes and races. I'm not against equality. I'm against equality of outcomes. This is another equality of outcomes thing. I think it's a horrible idea. There's nobody opposing this bill yet. There's no foundations, no business things that are opposing this bill. I need to get on it, do some episodes, get the word out there. Hopefully some people out there who have more pluck than I do, can or pluck or influence than I do, can actually look into this bill or talk to people who have influence, and we can get this bill shut down if it comes for vote. I think it's a really bad idea. I think Evergreen is a microcosm for what's happening in Washington. I think Washington's a microcosm of what's happening in the rotten left. I am basically a progressive. I'm a softie. I'm a centrist. I love looking at things in different views. I love people who are different than me. I absolutely love people who are different than me. I love people who are different than me. They turn me on, and not in a sexual way, but just in a mental way. Like I feel like I'm growing when I'm meeting people that are different than me. I'm of the leftish landscape. I'm the kind of liberal, though, who has lived long enough to realize that the world doesn't work without conservatives. I cannot dream big without people who have a very solid root in reality. I rely on them, and so my dreams need to service them. I need to bring them up. I need to serve them. I need to serve conservatives. As a liberal, it's my duty to serve conservatives, because conservatives, they serve me, whether they want to or not. They lay down their lives for me. They pay their taxes. They work the jobs that I can't work because my brain doesn't work that way. I absolutely love them, and yet I'm not of them. Anyways, that's that. I love you all. You guys are wonderful people. This will be unlisted until I look at it. Wow. And it's 6. I'm going to take a break because this doesn't matter. I'm just not going to talk. I'm just going to look at you guys type because it doesn't matter. This is over. This is done. I should probably hang up so the people who got the link can go back and look at it. Anyways, this is going to be unlisted. And good night. I'll go let the cat in. Love you all. You guys are wonderful. Thank you. Look forward to some episodes. I have to leave town. I'm going to keep on rambling. I have to leave town this weekend. I feel really behind with this YouTube thing. I'm glad I got to talk to you. Bye. Bye. And Brian.